Hi, welcome to the ATP Network. I'm Mike, the Left Independent, filling in for Andre and Liz. Don't know if they'll be able to join us later, but we are going to start off with a few stories today. First in the queue is the result of the Israel-Iran war that the United States was basically that the United States was all in on until this past weekend. Let's go ahead and share the screen. All right, so this one is from AlJazeera.com. The headline asks, is the 12-day Israel-Iran war really over, and who gained what? Trump brokered ceasefire. Well, no, it wasn't Trump brokered, and it's not a ceasefire, as I'll explain throughout the course of this program. But what really happened, and did any side emerge stronger from the conflict? So this is published yesterday. So it says, since Sunday, Israel and Iran have lurched from escalating war to fragile ceasefire. A truce seems to be holding, and what U.S. dictator Caligula Trump called the 12-day war between Israel and Iran seems to be over for now. Meanwhile, Trump, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, and Iran's leaders have all claimed that the pause in the conflict happened on their terms. So what's the truth? What did Israel achieve? Did Iran manage to defend its strategic assets, and is the truce a pathway to peace? So how did the events unfold? Late on Saturday night, at Israel's behest, the United States entered the Israeli-Iranian war with strikes on Iran's nuclear facilities at Fordo, Natanz, and Isfahan, completely obliterating them, in Trump's words, although, as we'll see, this is probably an exaggeration. So on Monday, Iran struck back, firing missiles at the largest U.S. airbase in the Middle East, Al Udeid in Qatar. It appeared as though the Middle East was poised for a broader, longer war. But within hours, Trump announced on his social media platform, Lie Social, where truth goes to die, it has been fully agreed by and between Israel and Iran that there will be a complete and total ceasefire, which he put in all caps, of course. A 12-day war that could have gone on for years and destroyed the Middle East. 4 hours after the ceasefire was supposed to take effect, Israel launched a strike against Iran in retaliation for what it said were 2 ballistic missiles entering its airspace launched from Iran. Both were intercepted. Israel's retaliation destroyed a radar station near Tehran. Trump was furious. I'm really unhappy that Israel went out this morning, he told reporters. We've got 2 countries that have been fighting so hard and for so long that they don't know what the F they're doing. Yeah, he actually dropped the F-bomb on television. So, yeah, this is a sign that Trump actually didn't get the ceasefire that he wanted, and this isn't a victory for him by any stretch. Iran said it did not fire those missiles by 11:30 GMT or Greenwich Mean Time. The ceasefire was back in effect. Trump spoke to Netanyahu. Israel is not going to attack Iran. All planes will turn around and head home while doing a friendly plane wave to Iran. Nobody will be hurt. This ceasefire isn't in effect. So basically ordering Israel to turn back its bombers and go home. So what did Israel achieve? Israel has long claimed that Iran is its number one existential threat, but it has never before struck Tehran's nuclear facilities. Of course, this is a lie. Tehran was never an existential threat to Israel until now, when Israel decided to start another war. Israel had struck nuclear installations in Syria and Iraq before, but it has now proved it can carry out a complex mission much further afield. It also withstood international accusations that its mission wasn't legal. Well, it's not legal. But this was unprovoked. It was not a preemptive attack because there was no sign at all that Iran was preparing to attack Israel. So it's not a preemptive strike, nor is this what you can consider a preventive strike, because what's there to prevent? Iran wasn't developing a nuclear bomb. So yeah, so yeah, Israel claims it was anticipatory self-defense, but nobody agrees that Iran is developing a nuclear bomb or that it planned to use it against Israel imminently. Netanyahu said, "I speak with world leaders, and they are very impressed by our determination and the achievements of our forces." Yeah, achievements that involve pissing their pants and hiding in bunkers while Iran pummels Tel Aviv, Haifa, and Mossad and military bases with hypersonic missiles and reduces in 12 days to rubble what it took Israel a year and a half to do to Gaza. Yeah, so finally, Israel proved it can convince the United States to enter a limited Middle Eastern offensive. It has started. In previous wars in 1967 and 1973, the United States had provided material support to Israel when it was attacked, but had not assisted it with direct operational involvement. Of course, in 1967, Israel deliberately tried to sink the USS Liberty, a surveillance ship that was stationed in international waters, hoping to bring the United States into the war on Israel's side by blaming it on Egypt. So, yeah. So Operation Rising Lion against Iran took place in the wake of conflicts that Israel has waged against Iran's regional allies, the Houthis in Yemen, Hamas in Gaza, and Hezbollah in Lebanon. Hamas and Hezbollah have been weakened over the past 2 years. So did Iran manage to defend its nuclear program? Israel managed to significantly damage surface targets in Iran, and the United States claims to have destroyed underground nuclear facilities. But while satellite photography shows that their missiles hit their mark, there's no independent confirmation available to verify what was destroyed. That will need on-site inspections. At this time, no one, including the IAEA, is in a position to have fully assessed the underground damage at Fordo, said Rafael Grossi, director of the International Atomic Energy Agency, the United Nations nuclear watchdog, on Monday, after the United States strikes. Given the explosive payload utilized and the extreme vibration-sensitive nature of centrifuges, very significant damage is expected to have occurred. Also unknown are the whereabouts of 400 kilograms, 880 pounds of highly enriched uranium that the IAEA has said Iran now possesses. Mohammed Islami, the head of Iran's Atomic Energy Organization, suggested the nuclear program would emerge unscathed. Preparations for recovery had already been anticipated, and our plan is to prevent any interruption in production or services, he said on Tuesday in a statement carried by the semi-official Mir news agency. And of course, you can read the rest of the article here. And then, of course, winners and losers of 12-day war after Iran and Israel agreed to a ceasefire. Well, they didn't exactly agree to a ceasefire. Iranian officials said that they were aware of no such ceasefire offer by the Caligula Trump regime in Washington. Iran did state that if Israel would stop bombing Iran, that Iran would stop bombing Israel. So far, that seems to be what happened, but this is widely seen as being a pause in the fighting, not an actual ceasefire. Nothing's been formally agreed, nothing's been signed. Obviously, Israel is going to use its time to try and rebuild and rearm, but I have no doubt that they're going to start hostilities again as soon as they're able. Of ceasefire between Israel and Iran. This is, by the way, from Newsweek.com. So yeah, it's gone into effect in what should go down in history as a 12-day war. But the agreement remains fragile, with Trump accusing both nations of violating the ceasefire just a few hours after it came into effect. If the ceasefire does hold, then experts tell Newsweek that Israel's leader, Benjamin Netanyahu, is a winner from the conflict, while Iran's Ayatollah Ali Khamenei is a big loser. Well, not necessarily. And I'll explain why in a little bit. But yeah, you can go ahead and read the Newsweek article. In fact, let me go ahead and tell you why Iran seems to have come out on top. U.S. strikes failed to destroy Iran's nuclear sites, intelligence report says. And this was dated yesterday. So Washington, Tel Aviv, Istanbul, June 24th. U.S. airstrikes did not destroy Iran's nuclear capability, and only set it back by a few months, according to a preliminary U.S. intelligence assessment, as a shaky ceasefire brokered by U.S. dictator. Well, no, this is what I really hate about lamestream news media, because nothing was brokered by Trump. He gave some orders that were probably ignored by both sides, um, but obviously Netanyahu seems to have been the one to blink first, because he's so far complying with Trump's orders, but how long that'll last is anyone's guess. Um, Earlier on Tuesday, both Iran and Israel signaled that the air war between the two nations had ended, at least for now, after Trump publicly scolded them for violating a ceasefire he announced at 0500 GMT, as the two countries lifted civilian restrictions after 12 days of war, which the United States joined with an attack on Iran's uranium enrichment facilities. Each sought to claim victory. Trump said over the weekend that the U.S. deployment of 30,000-pound bombs had obliterated Iran's nuclear program, but that claim appeared to be contradicted by an initial assessment by one of his regime's intelligence agencies, according to three people familiar with the matter. One of the sources said Iran's enriched uranium stocks had not been eliminated, and that the country's nuclear program, much of which is buried deep underground, may have been set back by only a month or two. Iran says its nuclear research is for civilian energy production. So then, of course, USA Today has its own spin on this, but I want to give you an idea. This is from Greg J. Stoker on Twitter, of why Iran's nuclear program probably wasn't seriously damaged. And this is a screen cap from his website, Lie Social. Stoker says, all caps, he's mad because his ultra complex and expensive PR stunt of bombing Iranian nuclear hard sites did not achieve anything, which anyone with a functional, non-militantly propagandized brain knew immediately. Since he's a baby, there is a concern he'll escalate out of embarrassment. So Trump says, fake news, CNN, together with the failing New York Times, have teamed up in an attempt to demean one of the most successful military strikes in history. The nuclear sites in Iran are completely destroyed. Both the Times and CNN are getting slammed by the public, which, of course, is bullshit. It always is with them. Ajamu Baraka, who is the 2016 vice presidential Green Party candidate and a very astute activist for on Black issues, published on Black Agenda Report today, the tactical failure of Israel and U.S. attacks on Iran is leading both to a strategic disaster. When U.S. and Western imperialists had to pretend that they were the ontologically civilized, humane, reasonable, and innocent, it imposed some civilizing constraints on the range of their uncivilized actions. But in this era of lawless global fascism led by the United States and Israel, those self-imposed constraints no longer exist. U.S. and Israeli gangsterism has created a Hobbesian international state of nature. It's a nod to Eric Hobsbawm, by the way, or possibly John Hobbes. I'm not sure. I will open up that link in a new tab so we can get a better idea of what he's talking about. But Baraka continues, a day after the Israeli settler colonial apartheid state launched a sneak attack on Iran, an Iran that thought it was involved in a serious negotiation with Israel's main benefactor, the United States. A Black Alliance for Peace declared that the Middle East is on fire because Israeli and U.S. imperialism lit the match. 12 days later, after a fierce response from Iran that saw major Israeli cities hit by Iranian missiles and an attack by the United States on Iranian nuclear facilities, Israel gladly accepted a ceasefire imposed on them by the Trump regime. What happened? There was never any ambiguity regarding the United States' strategic objective to effect regime change in Iran, basically to overthrow its legitimate government. And the mechanism for the execution of the policy was always clear: the deployment of the assets from Fort Israel, or the unsinkable U.S. aircraft carrier that is Israel, as some refer to it. War with Iran was always on the horizon and was passionately advocated for by Benjamin Netanyahu, Israel's prime minister for more than 2 decades. Yet, just 12 days into the long-awaited and predictable war. I don't like to say that things are inevitable, but it was predictable. Israel's learned a painful lesson that it should have learned by observing the historical disasters suffered by the United States. The United States mistakenly believed that the winning strategy for a quick military victory in the global south was the application of overwhelming military power. Remember shock and awe in Iraq? Unfortunately, I do. It is evident that when quick victories do not occur and conflicts turn into prolonged wars of attrition, ones that occurred in Iraq and Afghanistan, the limitations of military power become apparent, particularly when used in an aggressive war of choice against a population prepared to defend itself. The unprovoked war launched by Israel and subsequently directly joined by the United States once again revealed the limitations of military power and the disastrous consequences of colonial arrogance, an arrogance that resulted in successful military defeat of the United States and has now stripped away the veneer of invincibility associated with the Israeli military. And again, I'll link to all of this in the comments, so you can go ahead and link to it. But this is from MR Online. And again, this is from Ajamu Baraka from back in April, actually, so exactly 2 months ago today. He says 18 months of genocidal horror in Gaza has finally swept away to the dustbin of history the myth that the West was ever committed to the so-called Enlightenment ideas of human dignity, the rule of law, and human rights, and we say good riddance to this mendacious mythology. Israel's daily bombardment accompanies the daily horrific imagery of Israeli attacks on schools, hospitals, tent cities, and mangled Palestinian children, images that still fail to move public opinion in the United States and Europe to demand an end to the slaughter. Why? Because Gaza has finally stripped away the veil of civilization that masked moral contradictions and rationalized barbarism that has always occupied the heart of European civilization relations from the non-European world. From Thomas Hobbes, yeah, that's who he's referring to, not Eric Hobsbawm. I'm thinking Hobsbawm. But his strange notions of man in a state of nature needing a leviathan, a power above society to ensure the protection of natural rights all human beings are supposedly born with, to John Locke's apologetics for private property and natural inequality, the language and framework of human rights never reflected an incontestable universalism of principles, but instead a narrow provincialized rationalization for white bourgeois male dominance. So yeah, Baraka really is not pulling any punches here. But here's the thing, and this is where I have to step in and say, look, this is a strategic failure for Israel and the United States. Iran came out the winner, and I'll tell you why. The reason Iran came out the winner is because Israel onto the defensive after launching yet another unprovoked attack. Now, last year, Israel launched assassination strikes against Iranian civilians, civilian leaders, scientists, and military personnel, not once, but twice, resulting in Iran launching retaliatory strikes that basically exposed Israel's so-called Iron Dome missile defense system as a paper dome, meaning it's easily torn through. Because the thing about modern warfare, especially with regards to drone warfare and hypersonic missile warfare, is that if your missiles can travel faster than whatever defense system you put up, and you can overwhelm it by sheer force of numbers and speed, the enemy is not able to mount a proper defense. Videos and photos coming out of Israel showed rather devastating damage to Tel Aviv, to Haifa, where there's a major oil refinery that supplies about 60% of Israel's energy needs, including and especially its military. It also suffered damage to its Mossad headquarters, which is basically the equivalent of the CIA or NSA over here. And then also the Israeli equivalent of the Pentagon took a big hit. So Iran proved that Israel is vulnerable, that it can strike not only penetrating its defenses, but do overwhelming damage if it wants to. And Iran so far hasn't even used up really any of its newer stock of missiles. So far, it's used up only maybe a fraction of its older missiles. So it really has resulted in a situation where Iran still is intact as a viable nation state. Its government is not weakened. It is not collapsing. It has instead been strengthened. Its people, even people opposed to the government over legitimate issues of corruption and authoritarianism, rallied behind their government simply because they see this as an existential conflict with Israel and the United States to destroy their nation and enslave their people. So they don't want Israel and the United States determining their future. And who does? But Iran basically proved that Israel cannot defend itself without the United States to step in and defend it. So there's that. According to reports, Iran anticipated the attacks on its nuclear facilities and moved its uranium to safer locations. Its parliament voted overwhelmingly to close the Strait of Hormuz, although it still has to go through its National Security Council for approval. But it also voted to withdraw cooperation with the International Atomic Energy Agency because information has come out that the IAEA has been passing information on the Iranian nuclear program, including the location of uranium scientists and technology and nuclear sites to the Israelis, which is how they were able to launch these strikes in the first place. And Iran has also been rooting out Israeli spy networks operating within the country and arresting Israeli Mossad agents within the country. So Iran really has come out the winner. Israel has come out the loser because it cannot defend itself adequately against Iran in a war of attrition. It used up a large chunk of its missile defense system trying to stop Iranian missiles, and over the past 12 days, its ability to intercept and hit those missiles has been degrading. And that's just in 12 days. Imagine what would have happened in another 2 weeks. It would have run out of missiles completely. The United States, having exhausted its own arsenal, along with those of Europe, backing Nazi Ukraine against Russia, would have been in a position where it really could not supply replacements quickly enough. So eventually Israel would have lost this war if Trump hadn't stepped in and basically put his foot down with Netanyahu, who, as far as I know, is still hiding his ass in Greece instead of returning to Tel Aviv. And I suspect the reason he's not returning to Tel Aviv right away is because he knows if he goes back, he'll probably be tarred and feathered and his head staked on a pike above the Mossad headquarters as a warning to any prime minister who dares fail in protecting Israel from its enemies. Yeah. So this is, it's definitely a victory for Iran. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again. This is from Milan Mizrahi. I do apologize for not being able to pronounce names correctly. My first language, my only language so far is English. So, this is something that is not my strong suit. So I do apologize. If I hear it pronounced correctly, then I'll be able to pronounce it correctly. So he says, one key point about the exchange between Iran and Israel, everyone seems to comically miss. We all saw the damage done to Iran's nuclear facilities because it was heavily documented and circulated by Western sources. We have not seen, on the other hand, the full extent of the damage done to Israel's strategic bases and installations. A full media blackout has been imposed by Israel and all Western media outlets and establishments. So the debate relies on a very flawed and asymmetrical view of evidence. Yet, given the power and precision of Iran's missiles, and we've seen posted on Twitter and other social media platforms the extent of the damage caused to Tel Aviv and Haifa, uh, it's been pretty bad. And it got to the point where Israel actually uh, passed a law mandating that people do not post on social media videos and photos of the damage being done because they don't want to give the Middle East as a whole any reason to think that Israel is too weak to defend itself. It is understandable in a war. You don't want to let the enemy know that you're basically out of defenses or that you're not capable of yourself. So yet Yet he continues, given the power and precision of Iran's missiles, we can safely deduce a media narrative whereby no Israeli military target was hit, even once, is pure totalitarian propaganda. And just to give you a measure of the damage, formal professional Israeli tax people say the civilian damage done by Iran in 12 days is twice the damage reported from October 7th till the beginning of the Iran war. All the destroyed properties, infrastructure, and vehicles in the north and south. Think about what this means for the military and strategic damage Israel sustained fighting Iran. And that is just in 12 days. Israel did to Iran quite a bit of damage. Let's not mistake how hard it hit Tehran and other locations. But we also should not underestimate the pounding that Israel took from Iran in retaliation, because the damage is probably more extensive than they're letting on. I suspect that the reason Trump stepped in and the reason why he's so frustrated with Netanyahu is that Israel took a lot more damage than it is admitting to, and that its defenses probably would have run out in a couple of weeks, leaving it completely at the mercy of Iran if both sides had continued firing. So what this is a situation where Iran overall comes out the winner, at least for now. So I suspect that both sides are taking advantage of the lull in fighting in order to rebuild and rearm. Russia and China have stepped in, offering logistical support, although the extent of which is still unknown. That'll probably be coming out over the next weeks and months. But Iran basically turned to Russia and China and even Pakistan. North Korea allegedly offered to send nuclear bombs to Iran. Basically, the lesson being we need to get the bomb, because if we don't, then we're toast. And it's true. I mean, Iran should have never shot itself in the foot in the first place by limiting itself to only peaceful nuclear energy development. It should have developed a nuclear weapon like North Korea did. It's halfway there in terms of its conventional arms buildup, but it needs to go the rest of the way and get the bomb, because that's really the only way to deter further aggression by Israel and the United States. Right now, Israel's only advantage in the Middle East is its nuclear arsenal, which is undeclared. It is not a part of the nuclear non-proliferation treaty. Iran is, and has been adhering to it. But this war should really be a wake-up call to Tehran and force the Ayatollah to come to terms with the fact that Iran does need to get the nuclear bomb, if for no other reason than to discourage further attacks by Israel, because Israel so far remains a dominant political force in the region because of its nuclear stockpile. But if Iran, its biggest and arguably most powerful regional competitor, were to get the bomb, that would balance out the power dynamics. And the last thing Israel and the United States want is a balance of power within the Middle East. So yeah, I would say that overall Iran came out the winner in this so far short conflict, but we'll see what happens. So now we're going to go to our next story, and this is going to be rather traumatic for a lot of people, and trigger a lot of you, so I'm just going to give you forewarning. When I saw this posted on Twitter earlier today, I was shocked and disgusted. But yeah, so apparently a Belarusian tourist picked up an Iranian 2-year-old at Moscow airport and slammed him to the floor and put him into a coma with skull fractures and spinal damage. So Belarusian male grabbed and threw a child on the floor at the Moscow International Airport, injuring him seriously. The video of the unprovoked assault has gone viral. The 18-month-old boy, so he's not even 2 years old, he's only a year and a half. Oh my God. He's a native of Iran, is reportedly in a coma and fighting for his life. The boy and his pregnant mother, oh my God, his mother was pregnant. They had come to Russia to escape the Israel-induced war. The boy was not around his mother at the time of the incident. And I saw the video. This guy, he just picked up the kid and his suitcase and just slammed him to the ground. Oh my God, I'm still having, I'm going to be having nightmares tonight, no doubt about it. So the video shows the guy sneaking in close to the child at the airport. He suddenly grabs the boy and slams him headfirst on the concrete floor, seriously injuring him. The boy suffered severe skull fractures and spinal injuries. The suspect, identified as 31-year-old Vladimir Vitkov of Belarus, has been arrested. The video shows him being escorted out by the Russian police. What's most traumatic, and again, trigger warning, because look how nonchalantly this guy does this. And look at this. It's like he's saying, you know, what did I do? And while somebody tries to get the boy to safety, this motherfucker is scooting on his butt, trying to get the hell out of there. So yeah, I mean, this is just insane. So after the horrific incident, investigators revealed that the accused had cannabis in his bloodstream. Yeah, he was acting like he was on drugs. They also found additional drugs in his system, reported Toll. The boy's mother had gone to collect his pushchair after their flight's arrival in Moscow. So the police haven't yet revealed his motive behind the crime. Well, we can guess. They, however, believe that the drug intoxication played a major role in the incident. Gee, you think? So yeah, Israel and Iran fought a 12-day war after the former attacked Tehran's nuclear sites to stop it from developing nuclear weapons, which it wasn't developing to begin with, and Israel knew it, which is the only reason why it felt bold enough to do that. Both sides fired salvos at each other, leading to deaths and injuries on both sides. The United States tried to destroy 3 Iranian nuclear sites, but apparently only did superficial damage. But yeah, this guy was acting like he was on drugs. And then, of course, on AlJazeera.com, this was on Hindustan Times, and this is on, so Vitkov is charged after violently slamming Afghan shah to the ground. Well, it turns out, no, he's Iranian. But yeah, this will give you a video. And then NDTV.com, a disturbing video shows the moment a male suddenly picks up an Iranian boy and slams him to the floor at the Moscow airport. The boy, 2 years old or a year and a half old, so reports seem to be conflicting as to exactly how old he is. But yeah, he's anywhere from a year and a half to 2 years old. Really just a toddler. So he suffered serious skull fractures and spinal injuries. He's in a coma and fighting for his life. Reports say the child had arrived in Russia after he and his mother fled the bombing in Iran. The video shows a young boy minding his business, clutching his trolley bag handle at the airport. A male, his black glasses perched on his forehead and hands in his pockets, is standing close behind. He's dressed in a white t-shirt and dark shorts, looks around to check if anyone is watching, moves in closer, and then scoops up the child and hurls him to the floor, shown in the video posted on Twitter by Iran Embassy in India. A traveler at the Moscow airport confronted an Iranian child whose family left due to the Israeli aggression and brutally assaulted him. The child is in a coma and has serious injuries, said the Iranian embassy. A man came running to pick up the seriously wounded boy. The video shows the attack happened as the boy's pregnant mother was collecting his pushchair after their flight's arrival at Sheremetyevo Airport. The attacker, identified as Vladimir Vitkov, 31, from Belarus, is seen on security footage looking closely at the boy who was next to his suitcase. Police are examining if there was a racist or other motivation for the act. But yeah, apparently he was on drugs. But there's a happier ending, as I will show you. This is according to ibtimes.co.uk. A toddler slammed into floor by a monster wakes from coma with no brain damage. God save that boy. So Vidkov, a Belarusian construction worker high on drugs, confessed to attempting murder. I don't doubt it, because if there's one thing that Russians absolutely will not tolerate is people who harm children. As long as they're straight and cis, if they're LGBTQIA children, then they've got no problem harming them. Oy. So in a truly astonishing turn of events, a young toddler subjected to a horrifying act and left in a coma has defied all odds. This is the incredible account of his awakening, completely free of brain damage, an outcome many are calling a miracle. So yeah, if this is true, this guy is very lucky. Now, some accounts say that this guy is Jewish Israeli, although we don't actually know for sure. This is just speculation so far. We don't actually know if this guy is Jewish or not. He might be. He might not be. I don't think Belarus has a large Jewish population. I think it's predominantly Eastern Orthodox Christian. But yeah, so news reports indicated that Vikov was on the same flight as a child and his mother, who was reportedly escaping from war-torn Iran, where they had been visiting relatives. They'd arrived in Afghanistan after fleeing Iran. So Vikov had been dismissed from a nuclear power plant construction job in Egypt after failing a random drug and alcohol test. Well, yeah, that's not surprising, all things considered. A friend revealed that he was reportedly returning home via Moscow. He was valued there, appointed a foreman, the friend told Daily Storm, but there are constant checks. You have to blow into a pipe before work. Apparently he drank or smoked something there, and because of that, he was sent home. You don't get caught using or dealing or selling or buying drugs in Russia and get treated well. They will kick your ass out of the country if they don't lock you in prison. So he was at the airport because he was returning from work in Egypt, and also Egypt doesn't tolerate drug use either. So the stranger, who Russian law enforcement indicated was under the influence of drugs, forcefully threw the boy headfirst to the ground. He then confessed when a police interrogator posed a question. Explain what you did. I attempted to murder a child. Where did this happen? At Sheremetyevo Airport in Moscow. What was your motive? My motive? I don't know. I was under the influence of drugs. Reports indicated that cannabis had been found in his possession, with traces of the drug also present in his blood. News outlet further reported today that before the incident, he had consumed 3 bottles of whiskey and obtained cannabis in Cairo. Oh boy, Russia is not going to be kind to this asshole. It is not going to be kind to this guy. If you think what they did to Brittany Griner was horrible, it really wasn't, but they did not treat her well. Russian prisons are not known for being nice. I mean, they're not horrible like U.S. prisons, but they're not all that great. So Ksenia Mishonova, the Moscow region children's ombudswoman, described him as a drug-addled monster. She advocated for him to receive a sentence of hard labor until he is feeble with old age. Ouch. Well, he wanted employment. Well, he's going to get it, whether he likes it or not. I am always very, very careful, but here I no longer have the strength not to say simply, this is a stoned drug addict, a monster, she said after visiting the boy in hospital. I cannot call this person anything else. I believe that he is not sick at all. In our country, drug addiction is like a disease. It is not a disease. But this is my position. He's an absolute monster, a criminal who should be judged in the most severe manner for what he did. God simply saved the boy. In any other situation, a slightly different tilt of the head, and he, of course, would not have survived. So, yeah, if this is true, and I hope to God that it is, then this boy is very lucky, and this Vitkov character, yeah, he's a real fucking piece of work. He's a real fucking piece of work. You don't attack a child anywhere except Israel and Palestine and get away with it. I guarantee you the Russians are not going to let this guy out of prison. So, wow. This is just, and you know, I have to shake my head at this because I can only guess at what was going through this boy's brain, this boy Vitkov, because he's not a man. All right, real men do not attack women and children. This is a boy who has utterly failed to grow up. He screwed up his life, got hooked on drugs. I mean, cannabis, you know, it's not really all that addictive, but if he's on alcohol and other stuff, then yeah, he screwed up his life, got himself fired from his job, and decided on his way home, oh yeah, I think I'll try and kill an Iranian kid because fuck Iran, I guess. I'm guessing that's his motivation. But let's go ahead and go to our final story, because I only really have 3 that I wanted to talk about, and this is a serious portion. But we're going to be getting to the more lighthearted one, the one that I actually have to laugh at because it's got right-wingers going apeshit. So let's go to the clown show. Yeah. So, this is a clown show where we talk about the various right-wing clowns behaving like complete morons and crazies. This is over the New York City mayoral primary that was held yesterday with Democratic Socialist candidate Zohran Mamdani stunned New Yorkers in mayoral against establishment favorite Andrew Cuomo, who is also a credibly accused sexual harasser, as well as a guy who, in the first year of the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, decided fuck the old people and let people in nursing homes die in droves while he basically sat on his rear end, really half-assing mitigation. So Zohran Mamdani decided in his quest to become New York City's mayor, and this is according to BBC.com, he would walk the entire length of Manhattan starting at 7 one Friday evening in early June. By the time he was done, it was 2:30 a.m. Video of the feat on social media captures New Yorkers by frame, giving him thumbs up and embracing him. Several clap for the next mayor. He's doing it, he tells followers, because New Yorkers deserve a mayor they can see, hear, and even yell at, which, considering it's New York, that's actually pretty brave of him. It takes only a quick scroll through 33-year-old Mamdani's social media accounts to understand just how different his style is from that of a traditional politician, rejecting typical sound bites for a more unrehearsed feel. After he won the New York Democratic primary on Tuesday, that playbook is getting accolades for its ability to attract a large coalition. And I won't go through the entire article. I'll link to this in the description after I've gone ahead and finished the stream. But this is a wake-up call for the Democrat primary, said pollster Frank Luntz. The big loser of the night wasn't his main opponent, former Governor Andrew Cuomo. Well, I would say it's his second biggest loser of the night. But the U.S. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, or as I call him, the Senate capitulation leader, because that's all Democrats ever do, whether they're the majority or the minority party, they always capitulate. Schumer, of course, represents the Democrat Party establishment, and he represents Israel within the state of New York. Grassroots Democrats are demanding a more ideological, confrontational approach to policy and politics in the time of Caligula Drumpf, Mr. Lunsett said. Before Tuesday night's win, Cuomo and several Democrats mocked Mamdani's platform, including free public buses and city-run grocery stores, as unrealistic. Billions were spent attacking him, but the millennial left-wing state assemblyman, who represents a diverse neighborhood of Astoria, Queens, clearly connected with social media age voters who crave his brand of authenticity and accessibility. So yeah, I'll let you read through the article later. This is according to PBS.org. Mamdani declares victory in New York City's Democrat mayoral primary as Cuomo concedes. So this was, at 6:28 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time today. Zohran Mamdani declared victory in New York City's Democrat mayoral primary Tuesday night after Andrew Cuomo conceded the race in a stunning upset as a young progressive upstart who was virtually unknown when the contest began, built a substantial lead over the more experienced but scandal-scarred former governor. And scandal-scarred doesn't really begin to tell you the half of it. So Cuomo and Mamdani were a study in political contrast that could have played stand-ins for the larger Democrat Party's ideological divide, with one candidate a fresh-faced progressive and the other an older right-wing extremist. I don't know why they insist on using the label moderate, because you cannot credibly call a fascist like Cuomo, who puts Israel first and foremost above anything else, and only represents corporations, you cannot call him a moderate. He is an extremist. Cuomo characterized the city as a threatening, out-of-control place desperate for an experienced leader who could restore order, pretty much continuing the platform of Eric Adams, the former police chief, I believe, or commissioner who won the last mayoral contest in 2021, but because of his own scandal-plagued issues, couldn't run for re-election this year. So Cuomo stepped in to be the establishment favorite and basically got his ass handed to him. So he brought the power of a political dynasty to the race, securing an impressive array of endorsements from serial sexual harasser and rapist Bill Clinton to Schumer, to Nancy Pelosi, obviously, Hakeem Jeffries, and pretty much everyone Epstein's client list, I'm sure, within the Democrat Party, as well as Republicans, who were basically billionaires who were threatening to leave the city if Mamdani won the primary, or if he wins the mayor's race in November. I sincerely hope that they try and follow up on that, because it would be pretty funny to see that happen. So Unusual Wales took a screen cap of Lie Social, where Caligula Drumpf threw a hissy fit because this happened in his home state, obviously. Drumpf said, "It's finally happened. The Democrats have crossed the line. Zohran Mamdani, a 100% communist lunatic, has just won the Dem primary and is on his way to becoming mayor. We've had radical lefties before, but this is getting a little ridiculous. He looks terrible. His voice is grating. He's not very smart. He's got AOC +3, dummies all backing him, even our great Palestinian senator crying Chuck Schumer." Yeah, the boy who basically has been nonstop supporting Israel in its genocide of Palestinians is Palestinian senator. No. That's bullshit, okay? There's monumental levels of coke from Caligula Drumpf. So he's groveling over him. I wouldn't say groveling, but he is trying to suck up to him and basically trying to explain to him what will happen if he dares go against the party line. I'm sure that's happening. Zaid Jilani said there are city-owned grocery stores in Kansas and Florida. I know because I looked into it for some reporting years ago, comparing it to the Soviet Union. This is why professional cultural war people just should not discuss policy. This is in response to a tweet by Thomas Chatterton Williams. My sister-in-law grew up in the Soviet Union. One thing I can say with 100% certainty is that I'm not ever going to be shopping at a government-owned and operated grocery store when I'm in New York City. Now, my own hometown of Cleveland, Ohio, has a west side and east side markets, which are owned and run by the city, or more accurately, owned and maintained by the city. It's run by the collective of vendors who operate out of there. Um, so basically, the city charges rent for vendors to put their stalls there, and maintains the grounds in the building. But the vendors basically have their own little collective organization where they basically run the place. So this is nothing new. It's been in the United States for years and never had any real problems. Uh, I mean, there have been issues with funding, but that's basically it. Uh, and then, of course, Liz's uh, boyfriend Kay update. They finally said something on their small accounts instead of their much larger official accounts. Uh, so this is Hakeem Jeffries, the House capitulation leader, says congratulations to Zohran Mamdani on a decisive primary victory. Assemblyman Mamdani ran a strong campaign that relentlessly focused on the economy and bringing down the high cost of living in New York City. We spoke this morning and plan to meet in central Brooklyn shortly. And then Chucky the Shoom said, I've known Zohran K. Mamdani since we worked together to provide debt relief for thousands of beleaguered taxi drivers and fought to stop a fracked gas plant in Astoria. He ran an impressive campaign that connected with New Yorkers about affordability, fairness, and opportunity. So the usual bullshit. So they know, basically that there's really no way that Cuomo has a path to victory in the primary if he tries to remain a Democrat. But he'll probably run as an independent and get the backing of establishment Democrats and Republicans. And then let's show a post from Andre from earlier today. And sorry, I've been having connection issues all this evening, so I'm hoping this will reload. And I do apologize for the blank page. Okay, so good morning. This is hilarious. All right, so yeah, this is Betar Worldwide, which is a Nazi organization that basically Israel first and all that. He says, we urge all Jews to evacuate New York City. This is reposting RJC. Says, evacuate New York City immediately. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Rubenstein, Adam, whatever. But yeah, the fascist Zionists are flipping their shit and pissing their pants. But who do these Zionazis think voted for Mamdani in large numbers? There was a large Jewish contingent within New York who actually are not Zionists and despise Israel right now because of what it's done to Judaism, increasing anti-Semitism as a result of actual anti-Semites using the genocide in Gaza and the war against Iran to push their own conspiracy fantasies and all this. So Do Dissonance reports just wall-to-war anti-Muslim hatred being hurled at Mamdani by these pieces of garbage. Is anyone in media going to sound the alarm on this, or are they going to keep crying about anti-Semitism even after New Yorkers decidedly rebuke their bullshit? So let's go ahead and screen caps here that were posted because they really are appalling. Benny Johnson said, New York City in 2001, we will never forget. New York City in 2025 elects Muslim jihadist. Yeah, cope harder, Benny. Cope harder. Jack Paso, a foreign-born Muslim socialist, just won the primary for New York City mayor. Are we allowed to talk about mass immigration now? Timmy, shut the fuck up. No one wants to hear your bullshit. Imagine if they tried to deport the New York mayor. That would be insane. Nick Sortor, a foreign Muslim communist, is about to take over America's largest city. This should not be allowed. It's time to limit office holders to natural-born citizens. From the day you were born, you must only have pledged allegiance to the United States. Sorry, not city. Appalachian Podcast says, this isn't a big ask. It's time we take the reins and stop letting our enemies take advantage of us through our ridiculous laws. I do believe Mamdani is actually from New York. Juanita Broderick, one of Bill Clinton's victims, who has since become an ardent Trumper, was flipping her shit over an interview that Mamdani conducted with Mehdi Hassan, who is our favorite stopped clock over at MSDNC. It says, at Mayor, I would have Netanyahu arrested if he came to New York because, as I said, wouldn't you have a war criminal wanted by the International Criminal Court arrested if he came to your city? Because it's true, the International Criminal Court does have a warrant out for Netanyahu's arrest. Marina Medvin says New York City Democrats already forgot. No, actually, they haven't forgotten. They've just gotten sick of 24 years of you using 9/11 as an excuse to take away all of our freedoms in the name of fighting terrorism. You fucking piece of shit. Hey, what is up with these Timmies and Karens? And here's another post that doesn't want to load. So I do apologize for this. All right, so Batya Ungar Sargon. The Democrats are transitioning from woke elite cultural positions on race and gender that alienated working class voters to socialist redistributionist economic positions that, it turns out, are equally elite and equally alienating to working class voters. How the fuck would you know, Karen? You're an elitist. Jesus fucking Christ. Ted Cruz, everyone's favorite senator who really should be the one to have the post-anal sex discharge named after him, after, what's his name? Oh, God. Rick Santorum. Used to be the most vile guy in the Senate, to the point where a post-anal sex discharge was named after him. Ted Cruz, I think, should inherit that title now. So on October 8th, he couldn't bring himself to condemn Hamas, the murder of 1,200 Jews, or the rape of women and little girls that never actually happened, and he knows it. Instead, he just blamed Israel on October 8th. Of course, Zohran's actual statement the last 36 hours across Israel and Palestine. I mourn the hundreds of people killed across Israel and Palestine in the last 36 hours. Netanyahu's declaration of war, the Israeli government's decision to cut electricity to Gaza, and Knesset members calling for another Nakba will undoubtedly lead to more violence and suffering in the days and weeks to come. The path toward a just and lasting peace can only begin by ending the occupation and dismantling apartheid. So yeah, that's Ted Cruz seething but not coping. Let's see if we can get this one to reload. Oh, yeah. This is what happens when you have an unstable internet connection, and I cannot talk today. It's getting past my bedtime, folks. Shreya goes ahead and shares a rather sick burn here. Kathy Young, who has not one, not two, but three Nazi flag emojis in her user handle, Nazi United States, Nazi Ukraine, and Nazi Israel, says, I still don't understand the Asian vote for Mamdani, who, among other things, is very likely to try to dismantle elite schools if he wins. On November 20th, 2021, Young said Tamir Rice was 5'7" and 175 pounds, so not the typical 12-year-old. I'm not denying that race may have played a part in the perception of him as dangerous. It still looks to me like a tragic error. Above all, now Tamir Rice was the Cleveland, Ohio kid who was shot dead by police after a neighbor called to report someone carrying a gun that apparently was acknowledged even by the 911 operator as probably being a toy. And without even bothering to say anything, the cops just got out of their vehicle and shot him to death. And this is Kathy Young making excuses for the cops, calling it a tragic error and not second-degree homicide. And now she's being her usual clueless Karen self, saying, I don't understand the Asian vote from Mamdani. And Tarek Noram Begin says it's okay to shoot a child if they're really tall. Racist with that flat combo? Who would have guessed? Oh, snap. Mark Ames retweeting Larry Summers, who said, I'm profoundly alarmed about the future of the DNC and the country by yesterday's New York anointment of a candidate who failed to disavow and globalize the Intifada slogan and advance Trotskyite economic policies. So basically lamenting the supposed far-left turn when it's actually just New Deal liberalism. Mark Ames, of course, points out the first country Larry Summers plagued with his economic theories was Lithuania in the early 1990s. The economy collapsed, Lithuania's suicide rate doubled, its immiserated voters quickly returned the hated ex-communists to power in order to save them. And finally, and hat tip to Revolutionary Blackout Network for mentioning this because this bears repeating. If you're excited about Zohran Mamdani winning, you better be fired up by Kashama Sawant, who is actually running as an independent socialist, unlike Zohran, who's running within the Democrat Party and therefore is going to be very limited by what the party allows him to do. So this was posted today, and he interviewed her on RBN at 3 p.m. Eastern time. So, but yeah, the level of coping but not seething going on here with the with everything going on is just it's just hilarious. But let's go ahead and get to the comments. So no more Santa Claus said horrific footage. I concur. It is horrific. It's just nightmarish. I mean, this is the kind of shit that I have nightmares about that I can't remember anymore because I just instead I have sleep terrors. I've had this for years, probably at least since the illegal invasion and occupation of Iraq in 2003, seeing the images and videos of dead Iraqi children, dead Afghan children, and now Palestinian children, kids blown to pieces, charred corpses. I mean, it does affect you. So yeah. Mamdani was backed by AOC. He's no socialist. Well, yes and no. AOC really only endorsed him last minute because she saw the way the political winds were blowing and realized that if she didn't endorse anyone anyway, that she would make a political enemy out of him. And that's really something that I think AOC is very sure to acknowledge. She sees Mamdani as a political upstart. She really doesn't want to have him as a competitor in New York politics. She's probably eyeing a U.S. Senate seat down the line if or when Chuck Schumer retires. She might even enter a primary against him in the next election that he's up for. So honestly, he might actually face a primary challenge from her. But she might also have been eyeing a mayoral run in 2029. So he really kind of upset the cart, and neither she or really any of the establishment Democrats or I should say any other establishment Democrats, because she is an establishment Democrat now, has been since at least 2020. You know, they don't want to be seen not backing the favorite to win. Because right now the Democrat Party is in disarray after last year's victory by Caligula Trump, when they again blew another easily winnable election by running the worst possible candidate at the worst possible moment. In the middle of an ongoing genocide and fears over mass deportations and authoritarianism, Holocaust Kamala Harris vowed to double down on Trump's deranged deportation policy, support for Israel's genocide, and more war against Russia, saying that America under her rule would have the most lethal fighting force in the world. So, this is really not a sign that AOC backed him. It's a sign that AOC had no choice but to back him, because she saw which way the wind was blowing and really has to do it for her own political well-being. So I would say don't think for a moment that AOC or any of the squad really is going to support Mamdani. They will probably pretend to support him for the general election, but I think that the establishment is going to rally around Cuomo doing an independent run and try and buy him the mayoral seat in November. So that would be my guess based on my admittedly rather cynical experience in observing politics for the last 30 years. But they'll probably try and buy the election with Cuomo as an independent candidate. Now, whether or not they succeed, that I'm not really going to try and predict. Mamdani's percentage over Cuomo was large enough that there's really no doubt as to his victory. They can't spin this as a stolen election or anything like that. So I would guess that this is something that establishment Democrats are going to be watching very carefully. I fully expect people like Schumer, Jeffries, Jim Clyburn over in, South Carolina. He endorsed Cuomo. Bill Clinton, serial rapist and sexual harasser, and Jeffrey Epstein Klein, along with Caligula Trump, Fallon Dershowitz, and Elon Muskrat, also endorsed Cuomo. So I expect them to do that going into November and campaign hard for him. But if they do, that might blow up in their faces and lead to Mamdani winning in a landslide. I hope that happens. I sincerely hope that happens. It would be hilarious if it did. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and close this out shortly. But I do want to thank you all for tuning in. I did post a link here on my to my GoFundMe because I am presently between jobs. I ran out of unemployment benefits early last month, so I have no income. I'm in danger of losing my phone service at $68. So if anyone can help out, if you want to help me pay my phone bill while I look for work, because I do need to be able to have someone get a hold of me if a recruiter reaches out. It can't just be through email. Employers do need a phone number in order to call people because they're increasingly resorting to sending text messages and making phone calls instead of just sending an email. So if you can donate even $1 from each of the 270 or so people watching, that'll help me reach my goal. So please donate what you can, share the link, like, share, comment, subscribe to all the YouTube and Rumble and Twitter things. And that's pretty much it for this Wednesday evening stream of the ATP network. Once again, this is Mike, the Left Independent, standing in for Andre and Liz, signing off and saying good night and good luck.